Alright, let's talk about this Huntress and kind of a pseudo build guide here. So this is Parry, Explosive Spear, Whirling Slash, Twister, Storm Lance, Glacial Lance, Amazon. What is that? So I don't know what to name this build, because a lot of PoE1 builds are like named after the skill they're using, but the problem is I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skills, and pretty continuously. So we'll just call this maybe like the Parry-ish Huntress or something. The biggest difference between this build and a lot of builds is I'm not using Lightning Spear. I'll just say it right now, Lightning Spear is probably better. Because you don't have to parry, you can just throw range, but this is not too removed. I also just want to play a build that isn't Lightning Spear just to keep off from playing the off meta. Or just from not playing the meta and kind of play ethically, but also just play my own thing. It's actually, I imagine it's actually pretty similar in sub to most Lightning Sphere builds anyways, but I do think if you really want to play the OP build, Lightning Sphere is the way to go from everything I've seen. I don't think this is too bad though so far. Where are we in maps? We're in tier 10s and 11s right now. I have some tier 11s. I've done one. It's not really for... We're not really bricked wall yet, it's just more of a gearing thing. I'm still pretty, like, under-geared. And... let's see. Like, my evasion's low, armor... I don't know why I even have it. Our, we are res capped, and we have some high chaos res. I do think chaos res is super important to have near cap or close or high up. Life is low, still. You're level 83. So yeah, I think once I get to level 90, I'll be more finalized once I get some more in-game gear. Rarity on kill also matters, 69, nice. And that, I do find that useful just to keep sustaining like exalts and stuff. Though also map rarity matters, so that's fine. So how does this build play? Well, basic idea is we use Glacial Lance for range a lot of the time, Whirling Slash when I'm relatively close to enemies, Parry if an enemy has a good opening and I'm not attacking too much. Oh yeah, I'm using the Quadrilla too with the Haste Aura just to go fast. It's pretty good. I don't think the Quadrilla has any real benefit outside of Haste right now. It really doesn't. Increase AoE, which is good presence increase. Yeah, but this is still very early on in build state, just to clarify. I've been playing without trading too much. Like, all this gear is self-sourced where I got it from my guild stash. And I don't think I actually used too much with the guild stash. I'm pretty far ahead of my guild in most of the case. So... But yeah, playstyle. Twister has pin built in, and we're using Combat Frenzy, which pin gives you frenzy charges, as well as Electrocute and Freeze. We're actually not using Electrocute, though that would be good on a Lightning Sphere build, of course. Glacial Lance actually gives us freezes a lot. Pin gives us the rest. I do have regular Spear Throw as well, and that does do damage, but it's really more of a single target thing. Alright, so yeah, it's really just kind of like spamming all these buttons I feel, but to clarify, Whirling Slash if I'm close, Whirling Slash, Twister if I'm close specifically, Parry, disengage after parry immediately. You don't want to parry... well, I'll get into parry in a second. But parry has some tech that you really gotta like talk about that I don't think people are using, because a lot of people are like, oh, parry's bad, you can just get frenzy charges elsewhere. Like, yeah, but Parry's a really quick way to generate charges if you know what you're doing. Hey Amarella, we're going over build guides right now, so I'm going to be narrating a little bit. Alright. Single target is actually, a lot of the time, Exploding Spear Stormlance. What I do is Exploding Spear, or Explosive Spear, has a short delay before it explodes, and without Frenzy Charges what I do is I throw Explosive Spear, throw my Stormlances, and the Explosive Spear detonates them, and that's actually a decent single target. I can also do Spear Throw that has Impale on it, and then the Stormlances detonate these Spear Throws. Let's talk gym setup. Parry. Unbreakable, super important. You want to not be stunned while parrying, and getting more stun threshold, super important. Same spar, builds up stun, and since you're parried and you build up stun, spar's good. Steadfast, since you're at parry, also you technically get hit by the element threshold, so that's good. Persistence. Why persistence? Because I'm not using it on anything else. I don't feel like Twister really needs it that much, though it could. Big thing about persistence is it makes the debuff of parry last longer, and that gives you more wiggle room to punish with disengage. Because the big gimmick of parry, and this is a good point to talk about it, is you're not using parry to do the damage, deal the damage debuff. You're using parry to trigger disengage. So what you do is you parry, disengage, and then disengage gives you a frenzy charge. But you have to disengage the parried enemy, and if you miss a disengage, you have a little bit of a cooldown. So normal parry has, if you miss the disengage, you're not going to get the cooldown. So what you do is persistence lets you fix that whiff if you do whiff. And disengage can also use ingenuity, have reduced cooldown if really wanted to, but that's fine. But yeah, you parry, disengage, get a frenzy charge, and then frenzy charge can be, and disengage itself, by the way, inevitable, critical, pinpoint critical, because we want to crit with it to do shocking leech with the shocking ground. And the reason you use shocking ground, well, is for whirling slash, which we'll get to, because other ground effects. Explosive Spear leaves, when it has a frenzy charge, leaves burning ground, so we can whirling slash that. Explosive ground, or Explosive Spear has our primal arm in it. It just does damage. Less detonation time, super important. Overabundance, +1 limit, and actually the less duration means it explodes faster as well. We could do fast forward instead of primal armament, but I like having it do damage, so why not? Actually isn't that much of a damage bonus, amusingly enough. Stormlance, Lightning Fusions, similar deal, Conduction, Enervate. Stormlance builds up shock pretty fast, and I'm not sure it says so or not. We'll want to get it higher quality eventually. But pretty simple stuff. It shocks more, and generating shock gives it Enervate, which gives us more damage. And then we whirling slash all of that, and then Twister to follow up for some range explosions. Twister, it has Salvo, which lets it do all these nice projectiles, because it only generates like one projectile normally, but Salvo gives it a lot more. I want to say, yeah, like it goes from 1 to 7 projectiles, even if they're random directions, that's fine. The standard Twister tech is to also pair it with Barrage, but we don't have Barrage because Quadrilla. If I got an unset ring, I would pair it with Barrage, but honestly, Twister's fine with just what we have. Retreat, because we would do melee tons of times with Whirling Slash. And Soul Thief, Fizz leeches mana, because that's... If I had Mana Leech, I would just replace this with, like, maybe Persistence or just or Heft for extra damage. But I don't have Mana Leech right now, so Soul Thief it is. And really, we don't even need this. We could just spam Mana Flask. This is just more comfy. Other options. If we're not doing that rotation. It's barely rotation, it's more just like an alternating skill set. I do help during once I get frenzy charges from parry disengage. I often use glacial lance at least once to send a freezing blast. It really builds up freeze pretty commonly if I have a frenzy charge, and then combat frenzy tends to give frenzy charges, so it kind of loops into itself because glacial lance freezes. Glaciation for more freeze buildup. Ice Bite because if I freeze an enemy, that's just more damage. Golden Fusion helps Glacial Lance do more damage, which builds up freeze faster. And Frost Nexus, chilled ground on freeze, and chilled and elemental ground is really good for Whirling Slash. Whirlwinds pick up innately. It's for some reason not on the tooltip. It's like part of Whirlwind's thing that if it overlaps elemental ground, it gains 50% of the damage as that element, so that's actually pretty good. I don't know why though, but it only seems to pick up one elemental type and not all three, but whatever. I feel like it should pick up multiple, but it doesn't. I think it used to, but then they nerfed it. And finally, Spear Throw. Damage, Impale. Impale's interesting. Impale doesn't actually do damage with Spear Throw, but then I throw a Shock Sphere and all the Impales get eaten up. It's just essentially 30% more damage once I do it with other things. And Deliberation. So Deliberation's just a choice. I don't really have to... I could put it on Twister too, because I don't move with that, but it's just a good punisher. Spear Throw is only for like real single target, really. And finally, Combat Frenzy, Profusion, because more Frenzy charges. Cannibalism, just fit on Aura. If I had a little bit more Spirit, I'd also put on like Clarity or something. Because you see I have 7 Aura, but... Wind Dancer, Maim, Slow Enemy, Blind. Blind is good, even though Whirling Slash does Blind. Having a little bit extra Blind is nice. Encumbrance, Maim slows him down. If I wasn't using Whirling Slash, I would have Pen and Lockdown here, but... Oh yeah, Whirling Slash. Pen builds up Frenzy charges, Lockdown builds up Pen faster, Splinter... We don't really have much armor breaks, so Splinter helps with that. Martial Tempo, attack faster, super important to build up the 3 stages, because every stage of Whirling Slash gives you more twisters, I believe. It just makes Twister do more damage, doesn't give it more projectiles, still super important. Yeah, so Martial Tempo could also, if I was go on one of the Spear Throws like Stormlance, but I think it's fine on Whirling Slash. And the Quadrilla. Last Gas, so it doesn't die as much. Loyalty, so damage soaks on it. And Meat Shield, so it takes less damage. If I had a 4th slot, I would put like Elemental Army to give it resistances or something. And the big thing with the Quadrilla is it moves fast enough and it has haste. I also gave it reduced reservation because that's really helpful. But yeah, it has the haste aura that lets me move and attack faster, which I think is very comfy. You could give it other benefits like temporal bubble or plenty of things, but I like haste. And so does the community apparently, so yeah, haste Quadrilla, that's where it's at. I don't know if you can still get the haste Quadrilla. I think they were nerfing that like haste aura can appear on fast enemies. I don't know if the Quadrilla counts as fast, but if it doesn't, then haste Quadrilla. And I think Quadrilla is the way to go because it does move as fast as you do. Maybe give it a different aura than haste, but I don't know. It seems to work. Oh yeah, disengage. I already mentioned this. I build up crit because Shocking Leap when it crits, it creates shock ground. So. Passive Tree. Amazon. Predatory Instinct, just super good for single target. Magical Quadrilla, indeed. Quadrilla's friend. Oh, and that's gotten from Team Piece. And... not interested in spam bot, but... alright, so... Reveal weakness. Single target, pretty good. Um, like it just open weakness is just really good, and then critical strike builds up crit or changes your crit super good. I haven't really built into crit yet, but this is going to be even better when I do. Penetrate. Basically, if you give a weapon flat accuracy, this does more damage, and that's ridiculous. I was messing around with infusion. Problem with infusion is the damage of infusion only happens on the end of flight. So like Glacial Lance, infusion would only happen here. Twister, the infusion would only happen when these things stop spinning around. So, and I do Twister and Glacial Lance enough in Spear Throw that frankly infusion's kind of too situational. But it is more damage and I could have used it. So Penetrate, Critical Strike, Predatory Instinct. My fourth ascendancy is probably going to be Esmiri Brew. Because just quality of life there. Could do Infusion instead, but I think Esmiri Brew is just like better sustained for defense and stuff. I don't really think in for the kill seems too situational as well. Stalking Panther could be okay for more evasion, and Mystic Harvest could be good for sustain too, but I think Esmiri Brew is the way to go. Passive tree. Looks like this. Primal Instinct for dexterity. Probably could have gotten more move speed, but let's see. Melee and projectile damage if we alternate between them, which we do plenty. Strength if I can fit it. Dexterity. Just enough intelligence to wear the gear I need. Dexterity for the similar reason. Strength if I can fit it, because strength is life. Really the only real source of life you get on the tree. So I'm putting strength in the tree if I can, which is why I have hybrid armor evasion a lot of the time. Because I have the strength for it, but more because I just want some life. Life charges makes sense. Blind. Whirling Slash does blind. Our Gale Force from Wind Dancer does blind. And I even expect him to blind on hit later on, so this makes sense. This is just generic damage against blinded enemies. Parry. We don't care about parry damage, but block chance is nice. Defenses. And the parry debuff duration is ultimately the reason we're going here. I got this later down the line, so I won't worry about it early on. Mana Flask, super important, so charges and intelligence is nice. So I like this. I don't know why I have this, actually. Projectile damage if it dealt in melee hit is actually the real reason. Don't actually care about Fork that much. Maybe I shouldn't get Adaptable Assault. I really just... yeah, we're gonna respec these, but... and I don't get counter stancing because I basically disengage as soon as I like getting one next hit having increased damage isn't really enough for me, so counter stancing doesn't really make sense for me. Probably should get rid of this bit though. Attack damage, elemental damage, you do enough elemental damage that this just makes sense, along with AoE, also nice. Escape velocity, just movement speed and evasion makes sense. Probably should also get freedom of movement. I hear this is really good, and slowing potency of debuffs just seems nice. We don't move that much, so I don't know if this is freedom movement's really that important. Dual socket, I just fit whatever I could here. Catalysis, just slight more defense and more elemental damage. Reprisal, parry debuff time and magnitude. Not taking damage from blocked hits, so not going this way. Movement speed, skill speed just makes sense. Falcon die for attack speed. Oh yeah, up here. Falcon technique, even with the nerf, I still think it's worth it, especially with taking dex. Might take bestial skin too to get more evasion rating. The spear tree. Yep, just we're using spears, so we take the spear tree. I got the crit thing last because I'm going crit later. or stuff with spears. Accuracy is good because of Falcon Dive. Though, and also just strength and dex and more damage. Going for pinpoint shot, again, more accuracy, more crit. Blind, this is our way to get blind. I was tempted to go to Crushing Judgment for damage and area damage because all of our attacks are area based. But I think I might get that later down the line, but I think I'm going to go for Forces of Nature instead for damage and maybe Emboldened Avatar. Alright. So that's the tree. I think all that's left is a little bit of a demo. Let's respec a little bit. I really don't think I need Adaptable Assault. Let's just get, honestly, Breaking Armor seems good. Just more damage and stun buildup. Honestly, Splinter seems like a decent node, so here we go. Because they do physical damage a lot of the time. Let me show how to play this build. We just started tier 11, so... I tend to run magic wavestones unless I have to do a rare, which is I save the rare wavestones for towers and Corrupted Nexi. Otherwise, I just do this. I want to say there was a corrupted tower here, so let's go to Hidden Grotto. Oh yeah, gear. Before I do this, spear. You want accuracy on it. A Fizz spear. Life on hit's really good. Stun duration's a dead stat. If I was to change that out, it would be like Mana Leech or something, or crit. Either or. I'd actually do... Nah, I'm going to keep a Fizz damage. But I could do, as a socket, like Mana Leech or something. No uniques here, just resist, life, evasion, spirit, if I can fit it. Spirit's good. So spirit on the amulet, rarity, just generic stats, really. Chaos res. Move speed on boots, obviously. You do want that on this build. And yeah, that's the progress so far. Oh yeah, I do instant heal flask or in an instant heal belt. Definitely good. A heavy belt could also, not a heavy belt, a fine belt could work, which is charges per second. Ideally, I would want an instant heal charges per second flask, not charge on kill. Stone Charm, super important because getting stunned sucks in this game, so and you're in melee range enough to get stunned, so... Stun Immunity Charm, I would do a Frozen Charm here, or Anti-Freeze Charm, the Thawing one, if I had an extra slot, which I used to, but I don't, so here we are. And yeah, Buckler, obviously for the parry, Spear. We're still working on a better one, and that's the gear, pretty straightforward. No alternate weapon even. I don't even know what I would do for an alternate weapon, probably the same as this one. And let's run a build. Yeah, the build's not perfect, but I think it's more playable than a lot of people give credit for. At least Parry is, and I'll showcase how to do Parry. Because you're not parrying all the time is the big thing. You're only parrying when it's convenient. Like this guy, super common strike, misses a lot. So there we go. Immediate disengage. You don't hold down parry for like constant parry divas or anything. I do end up Stormlancing a little too much, but that's fine. If I have a Frenzy Charge, I'll throw Explosive Spear for the debuff. This is like the hardest content I've done so far, outside of the Rare or Feral Megalith. But so like this is still really early on. I don't think I have been playing slowly, not necessarily because I found this build to be hard, but more because I A, haven't been trading, and B, I just haven't like binged as much as a lot of people. My slash blade is 3 days, which I don't think is that much. And I have been idling a little bit too in hideouts sometimes. Like I haven't been blasting as much as I could be. Alright, let's try this.
No rest for the wicked, eh? And that's that.
As you can see, decent-ish damage, right? We get, nah, we didn't get a talisman. Yeah, Frenzy Charge Glacier is very likely to freeze, which is nice. And even with that, and you only need a couple of freezes for small enemies anyways, so... So yeah, it's a very dynamic playstyle. You're using a lot of skills, which is why I think Lightning Spear is going to be better for a lot of people, because you just throw Lightning Spear. But Lightning Spear is OP. This is relatively not... I can see... That being said, they're probably not going to nerf Lightning Spear until next patch, so... I would say you could probably play Lightning Spear, but if you want something not Lightning Spear, and you want to try Parry, I'd recommend... I'm having a good time with this build. I'd recommend it. At least I think it's nice. Not obviously a boss. You don't really have a good boss showcase here, but bosses die decently fast. Especially if you can parry them. You don't want to parry bosses too much anyways, you just want to throw spears at them. Spears are safe, and a lot of bosses don't get parry, are really hard to parry, unless you really know their moveset. Again, notice how little I'm actually parrying, especially with Combat Frenzy. Leveling I parried more because you don't get Combat Frenzy early on, but notice my single target's Explosive Spear Storm Lance. And sometimes not even single target, just like generic throws. I don't know why. Force of Habit. So yeah, I wouldn't say this is the best build, obviously, but it serves me well. Big thing about parry is if you come across is knowing that enemies that do AoEs, you don't want to parry that because you can't. You'll just end up taking damage. AoEs are usually overheads. And that's just knowing enemies, and it's worth knowing enemies in PoE too. Like, that's an overhead, you don't want to hit by that. And lo and behold, I did. Just showing the raw gameplay here. These guys do overheads, or just stomps. But the point being, you don't need to parry all the time, but it's just a nice boost against like small enemies and stuff. And don't go out of the way trying to fish for them. The trick, you can parry really quickly in this game. So just like if you see a tiny enemy near you, they look like they're gonna attack, just like in the middle of your attacks, just hold up the parry. It's super cancelable, so it's super easy just to do a parry. The other thing is parry's not timed. You can hold it up as long as you want. It's not like a actual, what other games would call a parry. It's more of a block with a payoff, instant payoff. It's just that you can cancel into it every once in a while and have a good time. One thing of note is that Explosive Spear going off doesn't, like if it goes off early from a Frenzy Charge, it won't detonate your Storm Spears, so just throw an extra Explosive Spear if you really want for Storm Lance charges to go off. And you do want to detonate the Storm Lances because they do more damage and shock, which is nice. And again, this is early on the build. You could definitely build fast with this if you trade with other players. I just hate trading. This is Trade League, but I do play pseudo SSF. Gearing wise, pick up spears, ID out, augment them, and then forge them. Recombinate if you really want to be spicy. Like I haven't really done too much complicated gearing. I just pick up what I can find and craft on it if I can. What is alive here? Yeah, like it wasn't too hard to get the spears that I've been having. Let's throw some exalted orbs at them on occasion. Crafting this game's kind of like blackjack. You just kind of gotta know when to just kind of keep hitting slams and stop when you realize that the gear won't be better, and then reforge it, or just wait for a new piece of gear. Reforging is kind of just, it makes it more likely that you're going to get better rolls, but it's not super required. Gambling is also nice. Just gamble for spears. I haven't really invested in defensive gear. I've just been trying to make my gamble for weapons. And that's about it. I don't really have a build guide or anything, or a skill tree planner.
I'll take that.
I just been kind of winging it, and yeah, have a good one, by the way. Thanks for stopping in. Good luck with errands. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else to build. Like, this is kind of what it looks like. Even boss fights, like, are kind of just extended rares fights. The only difference between boss fights is when they get heavy stunned, I'll throw regular spear throws just to build impales. Regular spear throw does decent damage. It just has very little AoE, and even with that, I don't spam regular spear throw because you want to land a shock with Storm Lance, which does similar damage. It just costs mana and spear throw doesn't. I don't do Glacial Lance as much on bosses because freeze and pin just takes forever to build. Much would rather just do regular damage. If you know the boss's movesets and you know it can be parried, that's actually really handy because that builds frenzy charges super easily. Twister building pen is actually not too hard on bosses either, but I wouldn't go out of my way to build frenzy charges unless you really just throw spears, shocking lance, explosive lance combo, and as far as defenses go, don't rely on parry, just dodge and be at range, have life, have evasion. You're squishy on this build, but that's just PoE. And hello, hello, hello. Just making a pseudo build guide that I'm going to highlight later.
The eye of the storm.
Yeah. Once I get close, some few more levels, I'm going to try Zorok, but I don't think I can do it just yet. Oh yeah, MTXs. My spear is glowing. Paladin weapon effect, guillotine effect from the Twitch drop. Just a bunch of silly MTXs, doesn't really matter. That's just a silly MTX, but it's there if you want it.
The thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, but basically, throw spears to leave round effects, use melee and twister, and then throw more spears. It's really about it. So it's not pure range like Lightning Spear is, and it's not probably as good as Lightning Spear, but it's just a fun way to a different fun way to play the game, and you get to use parry, which I kind of wanted to try. So, and parry does actually work. It just does require. Just the trick is not to use it all the time, and know which enemies are good to use it on, and only use it sparingly. Don't overdo it, and have some stun protection for it. But yeah, if an enemy's not attacking you, and like, don't bother fishing for parries. Just yeah. The trick is just not to use it as much, and don't care about relying on it. It's just a nice bonus. And it builds frenzy charges super fast, faster than combat frenzy does. It's just, it adds on to it. Yeah, and again, disengage. As far as disengage goes, just make sure you don't move your mouse away from the enemy when you parry. And disengage does have a very tight hitbox, which I really wish they would buff. Maybe they will. But the good thing is, if you make the parry debuff duration last longer and you have persistence, you can try the disengage a second time. You'll have enough time to do that. Otherwise, you'll just have to parry again. Yeah, enemies will stagger out of the hitbox in groups sometimes. It is a little janky, and so I wouldn't worry about parrying too much, but you just sigh and continue on. Yeah. I'm gonna dump these real quick. Normally I put these in the guild tab, but we're in a rush to demonstrate the video. And yeah, I agree about disengage AoE. It really could just be increased. Also, we're done with this map. There's more than 50 monsters remain, but this demonstrates the map enough. Sabotage. That's good. And that's demonstration of the build. Hope it helps whoever feels like Parry wants to try a Parry's Huntress Spear build and hybrid melee stuff with elemental spears. That's how I play it. Hope that helps. And I'm going to capstone this little build guide explanation part highlight of the VOD with just saying Quadrilla hype.